That's the angry fish
That was
slurp.
airy.
Nice.
That's an angry fish.
Yum.
Yeah, the fish is. The angry fish is.
Oh, I see.
It's very similar.
It
Subtle.
is an angry
There's a
fish.
difference.
Next thing, I'm going to break out my nutty professor. Hey, lady! It's going to drive Dave Landau nuts.
No, don't do it.
We have so much to talk about today. Listen,
much.
first off, let me tell you this. I wish that I didn't have to talk about gun control.
Yeah.
But when it's the first trending hashtag after a shooting about which we know nothing, you would think that the media had learned their lesson from accusing, or at least I should say, covering, lying about the previous shooting as a hate crime when we found out that 33% of the people shot were white, and that it was a guy who thought he had sex addiction.
Yeah.
You'd think they learned their lesson to not jump the gun, forgive the pun, but don't. But now they're doing the exact same thing. We know almost nothing. At the time of this recording, very little aside from 10 dead, which is horrible. It's a tragedy. And I want to, before we talk about this, we'll also be talking about maternity suits in the military.
For pilots.
Yeah, here's the phrase. To be more tolerant, we need to build maternity suits for female fighter pilots.
That won't turn your kid into a goofball.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
By the time you're done reenacting Torah inside your, it's just gack. People who you remember Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon gack.
I
Yes.
get it.
Remember that? And then you stick your thumb in and go.
Could be flubber.
It could be flubber.
Just we won't move as much.
Right. Well, it could be Robin Williams post flubber. Oh, this grave is cold.
I turned it into a
Okay.
goose.
What the?
What?
Anyway, this is a rough start. But no, that's not you, Dave. This is on me. We have to talk about gun control, and we have to talk about the lies right now that are circulating. I wish that we were in a world where every single tragedy was not immediately politicized, but you cannot allow false information to go on unchecked. So we are going to do that. Yeah. And, of course, I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. Pretty soon we'll be reading your hate mail as well. We'll have Mark Ripito in to do it.
Oh, nice.
Gerald A., how are you today?
Well, how are you?
I am terrible. How are you, Cordelec?
I'm doing great. It's
Yeah,
great morning.
really? Well, look, he's come to grips with the fact that he's accepted amongst no communities. He's a man with no home. Dave Landau, how are you?
Ahoy, hoy. I am good. I'm excited to talk about gun control with you wearing a gun holster.
Yeah.
This is a good look for me.
This is a very
really
good look
is.
for...
I'm kidding.
It's a good look for all of us. Once you sit in the chair in this show, you have to stop worrying about optics.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. First off, though, before all this, let's talk about Kamala Harris yesterday was asked if she would visit
Really?
the border.
I don't wanna.
And a lot of people... And we have the first clip, and then we have, obviously, the edit, right? No, we don't? Mm-mm. We don't. Okay. Well, Kamala Harris was asked if she was going to visit the border, and she laughed and said, not today. So we and I warn you, it's a little disturbing. We have the clip.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
That's news.
News.
Oh, it's like Dr. Hibbert without the charm, isn't
Yes.
it?
Well, you mean like new Dr. Hibbert from a white guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, wait, no, from a non-white guy. It's going to be a black
It's
guy.
the other- yeah.
The point is,
It
Dr.
doesn't go the
Hibbert,
other way.
you can't, why change perfection? Why mess with perfection? Black voice is a thing now? Really?
It's about
It's-
representation.
That's separation.
It's my issue with Family Guy with Cleveland.
Yeah.
They decided to make him a black guy, where you go, you have so many racist jokes in every episode.
Was he not a
That's
black
the
guy?
problem. He was not a black guy.
Ugh.
Really?
I don't
Yeah,
want
the
to
voice.
live. I don't want to live in America anymore, where a man cannot get a $40 million contract because of his race. Precluded as Cleveland because of his race.
Well, if we're not going to let people play characters, it's not really acting, is it? If the paraplegic guy's just paraplegic, you can't really win a trophy for acting paraplegic.
You would think not, but they do.
Well,
They've done that with transgenders. They're like, "That's beautiful and brave." Well, he just acted like himself. She was distraught and unhappy and surly and spread surreptitious rumors without any substantiation. That's not Academy Award worthy. By the way, hey, listen, you guys can listen to the podcast. Your audio only. Like last week, some of the stuff got removed, but it's still available on Apple, Android,
is.
Spotify. And the best thing to do is just check into the show. It's a live show, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And look, comment. That's the best thing you can do. Comment below. What do you think is going to happen here with gun control? And do you find it a little weird that, listen, there weren't that many mass shootings under Donald Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
Not that we heard about.
all of a
COVID
sudden it
notwithstanding.
happens again.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not including all the rioting.
Well,
And we'll get to that in a
Yeah, if you
second.
count
The
that.
false
Yeah,
statistics where you maybe believe that most mass shooters are white. No. So, We'll talk about it. But first, Ron DeSantis, this is just, I think this is the guy who needs to probably run for president.
He's going to.
Especially after what happened with Kristi Noem. And I understand the legal issues there. She's not pro-transgender men in sports. That's not, conservatives need to stop abandoning someone because they don't wait for the details. However, DeSantis, I don't need to wait for details. It's black or white, simplistic, reductive. I love the man. Here he is addressing a reporter when asking about the Publix scandal for vaccines.
Publix donated $100,000 to your campaign.
So first of all, what you're saying is wrong. That's a fake narrative. So first of all, when we did the first pharmacies that had it were CVS and Walgreens, and they had a long-term care mission. We've done almost 75% of the seniors in Palm Beach, and the reason is because you had the strong retail footprint. And it's wrong, it's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts, because obviously I laid it out for you in a way that is irrefutable, and so it's clearly not. No, you're wrong. Yes, sir.
I didn't know there was that much gang violence in Florida.
Yeah, man. It must be rampant.
It's new.
Strange.
And you should listen to his whole answer because he sets the context very well. No, we rolled this out with CVS, with Walgreens.
Yeah,
they did it for a couple of weeks as part of their mission. Then we wanted more retail positions. This is what the left tries to do. They go, oh, wait, hold on a second. There's money from some conservative. That must mean they're funding everything.
Yeah, right.
And I know what you're saying. You're going to say, well, conservatives do that with George Soros. That would apply if he didn't fund everything. Go ahead.
He literally didn't do it. This is what we were talking about DeSantis. This is how he is better in this one thing than Donald Trump was. He is great at putting it right back in your face, but also giving you really good, detailed facts.
He's really good at tastefully
Donald Trump a lot
checking
of times
people.
would just be like, wrong, you're wrong, and move on to something, right? He wouldn't actually tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
DeSantis goes the extra mile and is like, here's why you're wrong, and here's why this is going to be run on every competing news agency against you.
I was talking with Quarterback Garrett about this. This is what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump seems like the guy at first glance, right, who if he were doing a sketch on Sesame Street, like a celebrity with a puppet, he'd like get mad at the puppet. Yeah. But then you realize he'd get mad at the puppeteer. Like, stop! All the actors are like, Shay, listen, you're not fooling anyone with your stick, with your hand up its ass. Stop. That's what he does. And he shows you, look, there's a puppeteer. That's what he's showing you with this. No, you're lying. This is dishonest. You cannot allow the left to set the narrative and then try and argue down that path. And that's something that we've done with Change My Mind. That's something that we'll do in the future. We'll be doing more Change My Minds. It really is, terms matter. You need to have terms and conditions before you start. And that is why today, nope, we're going to cut it off at the pass as it relates to gun control. And I want to know what you think is the most egregious gun control measure. We've covered it a few times in the past, but a lot of people need a bit of a refresher. Yeah. Let's look really quickly, before we move on to the Colorado shooting, let's look at CNN and see how they're covering it.
This issue, even though Chuck Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate, just said on the Senate floor that he would try and that this Senate would address the issue of gun violence, but how exactly that is addressed remains to be seen. One senator, a Wyoming freshman, Cynthia Lummis, I just asked her whether or not her opposition to expanding background checks has changed in any way. She said that her view is that expanding background checks would be, quote, an erosion that would chip away on Second Amendment rights.
Correct.
And that is a view shared by many Republicans in the Senate. So even though the Democrats plan to push ahead, even though they're pointing to this massacre after another and saying that something needs to be done now,
two things. Look, let's just I can't. I don't want to be another statistic where I stick a gun in my mouth. Okay? That's why if I watch CNN too much, if I take myself out, it'll be a bottle of pills, I'll hang myself, razor blades, just so that I don't give Anderson Cooper the satisfaction.
Take away from him.
I just don't want to make a mess.
Well, listen, at that point, I don't know, pills, but you're probably going to vomit.
Oh, I've thought about it, though. You ruin that hotel, then your family's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
You go just straight. Pills are a mess, though.
Just take the pills and throw yourself off a rail in the Ozarks.
That's better.
That's probably the way to do it. So first thing, who here owns a firearm? Okay? Everyone here owns a firearm. Let me ask, and you watching, do you own a firearm? Okay, for those who are Blaze Chat members. When you bought a firearm, what'd they do?
They basically said, here, take it, run away. No, I had a background check. They tried to confirm who I was, show the ID, make sure everything's correct.
What about you?
I bought it off a paper bag off a guy named E-Ray.
which really the paper bag was just for display purposes.
Right.
Oh,
It was
well,
wrapping
he
paper.
seemed very legit.
Yes. Well, he was compassionate.
He was.
He's like the Dr. Kevorkian of selling Saturday night specials. But when you purchased it,
Honestly, yeah. They actually they had to take my information and they called me a couple days later to pick it up.
well, this is in New York.
Detroit,
Really?
Michigan. Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
you had
waiting period.
Waiting period.
There is a waiting period.
Well, that's
yeah.
ridiculous. So when they say background checks, they say most Republicans support background checks. Sure, they already exist.
Yeah.
They already exist. There isn't a loophole. There are already background checks. And that's why we started that gift a gun hashtag a while
Yeah.
ago, because
Yeah.
all that is needed for someone to understand that CNN is full of bullshit, that they are lying to you, is to have ever purchased one firearm legally. Whatever. Now you can say there's an online loophole, meaning that some people buy firearms illegally. That's not a loophole. That's
Right,
people
yeah.
breaking the law.
Illegal.
So what we're talking, and we'll get to what the HR 127 is proposing exactly, so you understand what they mean by this. And truth be told, they don't know what they mean. They say military-style weapons, and they don't even know what it means. So we need to know what it means. But every single person here has purchased firearms. I have many firearms, always within reach, and
Very
every
close.
single one background check.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is no way to get one without.
So here's what we know about the Colorado shooting.
Well, there are ways to get it.
Yes.
legally. Dave.
Well, yes,
legally.
but
No, illegally.
but I'm just saying there you can illegally obtain them.
Of course.
But
yes,
legally,
criminals are going to criminal.
But I don't know how an expanded background check is going to stop that.
right.
Well, if it starts where they go, hey, we should check some people out.
Like, damn, I was gonna get a gun and
Hey, the
rob
guy
some people,
selling
but
you
I
in a paper
can't.
bag is like, all right, can I hold on? Let me get my iPad. All squares
Gotta
not
check my
working today.
digits.
Welcome,
Get my information together.
Shit.
welcome to the CRIP registry. You just want to sit down.
We will break a lot of laws.
Like
but
the
not-
DMV. Hey, I told y'all sorry white ass before. Pull a ticket. So what happened? Here's exactly what we know. 10 people were killed, including one police officer, 51-year-old Eric Talley. Horrible.
terrible,
Tragic.
yeah.
I want to be clear. We can roll some B-roll here. The police escorted the suspect from the scene. At the time of this show, we don't know his name, but of course he's white, and so the media is talking about mass shooters being white because they see everything through the prism of race. The shooting occurred at King Soopers supermarket at roughly 2:30. I didn't even know King Soopers 2 O's was a thing.
Yeah, I think the supermarket didn't help.
Yeah, I would just avoid shopping at names that are shops that have names that are spelled wrong.
Oh.
As a general rule,
Or use super twice, regardless of spelling.
that's true. Or if it's like cool with a K,
Yeah, I don't like.
well,
Well,
you're
unless
probably
it's-
getting shot.
unless it's cigarettes, because then it's pretty cool,
That's
right?
pretty
Am I right, guys?
Talk about branding.
Yes.
You're like, we
terrible.
know that this Arsenio Hall audience won't be purchasing Chesterfields. Cool with a K. That's my shit.
I
So-
smoked Newports for many, many years.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Newports. I don't even know if they still make them.
Oh, they do.
Well, Chesterfields were doctor recommended #1, so that's what I want to talk.
They have a nice smooth pull.
Oh, very nice.
1 out of 9. No.
No.
I thank them
8
from-
out of 9 doctors.
I thank them
recommend
from the bottom of my clawed
Pregnant
heart.
women.
So this is something now. Now let's go through the claims that are being made. This is really important that we get through these here. One of the claims that is I guess you would say, most consistent, and this happens with all shootings, but right now is they're saying, well, this happened in Colorado specifically because they didn't enforce what you've heard of. And again, the terms matter because people go, assault weapons. Ooh, well, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
I saw Cobra. I know that's bad, right? People shouldn't have it. That must be a bazooka.
Cobra is bad.
Cobra is
very-
bad,
but
but
it's
it's wonderful.
enjoyable.
But
It's a
but he
great-
didn't use an
great
assault
ban.
weapon. He used a 1911. So they say this shooting occurred because the assault weapons ban wasn't enforced. Don't take my word for it.
Can you tell me about why you're here and why you're outside?
I got the call from my daughter that my grandchildren and my son-in-law walked into the pharmacy for him to get a COVID-19 shot, and the shooter came in, shot the woman in front of them. They hid, ran upstairs or hiding in a coat closet for the last hour. And this is put in a big pitch for gun control.
Well, you did get a shot.
Yeah, well, didn't you expect him to answer
All right,
with? Did you expect him to answer
I-
with a? Well, listen, I'm just asking questions. I want to know the facts about what's going on with the shooting. I think that this is the result of fluoride in your tap.
He does definitely have Ventura hair.
He has Ventura, that
Little
riff-raff
wispy
hairdo.
wispy hair.
So here's the deal. There is nothing to tell us that an AR... When people say assault weapons ban, they think AR-15. AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle, by the way. It stands for Armalite. would have had any impact on this. So let's be really clear about this. Let's go through some statistics. A lot of people think AR-15s, that's a scary black rifle. That's the rifle that was used here. Assault weapons ban is going to make a dent in mass shootings. According to the New York Times, weapons used in mass shootings, 11 out of 19 didn't use any kind of a rifle at all, let alone an AR-15. A rifle of any sort, we've talked about this. Handguns are used 19 times as many as far as kills in this country, as far as murders, all rifles put together. So 19 times more likely to be shot by a handgun than by a rifle. 11 out of 19 mass shootings didn't involve a rifle at all. I can remind you of Virginia Tech. That was all with handguns.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then, by the way, according to FBI statistics, you're 4 times more likely to die from being knifed to death than by being shot by a rifle. A little bit higher if you're in your city cons municipality.
Or in the UK.
Yeah.
Same thing.
That's what, he's the mayor of London.
Yeah.
Or if you piss off my friend Johnny Knife.
Johnny Knife. You know, it's almost not fair.
No. But if you upset him, you're going to die by knife.
That's my thing. That's what I do. Sometimes, like,
It's in my name.
He's having his midlife crisis with his therapist. I was thinking, maybe I could be like Johnny Knife and, sock full of quarters. Or maybe Johnny Knife and revolver. Like, no. We've made some progress, some real headway here. It's Johnny Knife and nothing else for you. Okay, Doc.
You got your niche, kid.
Write me my
Joey's sock and a lock.
Joey's sock and a lock.
Just locking a sock.
Locking us.
Hey,
I have dyslexia today.
You punk. I'm John Knife. Guess what's going to happen next?
You're getting knifed.
You're going to meet Jesus from my knife.
This is Joey Swords. He buys a lot of stuff off infomercials.
Joey Katana.
And over here, this is Tommy Reverse Mortgage. We just keep him around for sound financial advice, okay?
You just wish you were dead.
Yeah.
This is Johnny who'll flatten one of your tires so you can't go nowhere.
Right. And then this guy's going to wear you down about doing a reverse mortgage. By the end of it, it's going to make sense. Hey!
You're done.
This is something else that they're claiming. That this, of course, right now, they're running with this narrative because we saw the guy who looks like a fine, upstanding citizen, but you notice there's a lack of melanin, or as Nick Cannon and Cardi B say, lack of soul. They say melanin is soul.
He's a
Did you know
ginger?
that? Yeah.
It's all in the melanin.
They believe that black people have souls and white people don't. Some of these black supremacists, Nick Cannon, of course, is included in the
Am I the only one who agrees?
Well, as far as
I don't know.
we're talking about soul as far as
I was there with
dancing.
you.
Well, yeah.
It's not all Otis and the Knights or whatever that band was.
Gladys Knight and the Pips?
No,
where
in
you were going?
Animal House.
Oh, you're talking about Animal House.
Otis, mind if we dance with your dates?
Otis, my man.
My man.
Go ahead. Brought it for you.
So this is another myth that they are now parroting. This is another example of white men disproportionately committing mass shootings. Don't take my word for it.
Biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
Most of these shooters are young white men.
And these 4 young men have something in common. They wanted to kill lots of people. They wanted to commit mass murders, and they were angry young white men.
Well, first of all, I just think it's very interesting that we're talking about racially profiling in the context of mass shootings. The vast majority of people who are doing the mass shootings in America are not Muslims at all. So exactly, the young white men.
Bullshit. So let me walk you through why. And by the way, can we just be clear about something too? When people say, "Hey, why is he being escorted and the other guy was shot?" That's because he's white. No. Look. The purpose for a police officer to shoot somebody is to remove the threat. Okay, so there's a huge difference in most of these cases, including black and white, when they aren't shot on the spot, is because they are not waving their gun around. They've surrendered their firearm. Do you understand that regardless of race, there's a huge difference between a gang shooting melee or a man saying, "You'll never take me alive," and a guy behind a door with the cop saying, "Come up with your hands up." All right, here, I'm sliding out the weapon. I'm coming out with my hands up. There's a huge difference. To try and say it's exclusively due to race is dishonest. And again, it breeds more racism. Those chickens have come home to roost right now with over 80% of all violent attacks on Asians being carried out by black Americans, because you've divided and conquered with affirmative action, with the idea of gun crime, with the idea of poverty rates, with the idea of people who are taking their jobs. This is what the left has done. You will breed more racism here if you convince young black males that they'll be shot on sight and white people won't solely because of race. That's not accurate. What else is completely inaccurate is the idea that most of these shootings take place from overwhelmingly white males. That's not true.
Well, and this is what the left does with statistics. They basically give you kind of a sliver of something true, but it doesn't tell the story. It doesn't help explain what's going on, and it's not useful in solving the problem. And it's a lie.
You're being generous with a sliver. They give you a crumb too small for a mouse.
That's true.
Okay, well, that's true. Okay, honest question.
Yeah.
So let's say you have. There are a lot of angry white guys who shoot places up.
Yeah.
Let's just.
And I would assume that there will be more of it when you decide to destroy the economy and lock them in their house for months on end. Yeah.
You're telling me.
And remove their jobs and their businesses.
But there certainly is an epidemic of that with a lot of people, whatever.
Yeah.
Why are they saying it's a mass shooting? Is it just, are you saying that in black communities?
Yeah.
You're saying those are mass shootings? Is that the argument?
So here's what the statistics matter, because they will use one set of statistics when making one argument from the left, and they'll use another statistic in another argument. So let me give you an example. Right now they will say, look, the vast majority of mass shootings are from white males, right? But here's the thing. What they do, and I actually have this right now from Mother Jones, this is the one that's been circulated, that includes that 60% of shooters are white males. By the way, in 2015 it was 70-something%. So the Black Lives Matter riots have changed that statistic single-handedly. That includes all Middle Eastern people, North Africans as white, and it completely excludes gang crimes. Now, why does that matter? Because mass shootings are defined as 4 people killed or more. Now, when these same people say we have more mass shootings than any other country, which is a lie, they include the totality, which is gang crimes, which make up the huge majority of mass shootings. So they want one set of statistics, mostly white people, but you excluded gang crime, and you included Middle Eastern people as well as people from Egypt, Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Morocco. I've seen True Romance.
Well, and Dave, it's not precise, right? So it's like it's kind of like saying that I'm in the top 1% of athletes in the United States. It's probably not too far off.
Congratulations.
Here's the thing. You're trying to evaluate me to see if I can play in the NFL. That doesn't really tell you anything. You need to go drill down. How about in college? Okay, now how about compared to people in the NFL? The stat matters only if it's relevant and useful. And it's not useful to say, well, white men are committing more of these crimes than anybody else. Well, okay, well, what percentage of the population are they? What other factors are there so that we can kind of drill down on that?
That's a horrible analogy, you boastful Mick.
It is.
What a...
Notre Dame, we get it. So Mother Jones, right, they follow the FBI definition for mass shootings. It excludes gang violence or drug violence, right?
I wonder why.
And then here's the thing. Since 1982, there have been exactly 122 mass shootings, right? That, again, excludes gang violence for Mother Jones.
Is the point, though, that the gang violence is more, we get the idea of it, we know it's involved, and they're saying that the white shooter is sort of, you don't know the motivation?
They can say that, but you don't necessarily know. Because gang violence, unfortunately, there's a lot of collateral damage, and that's why they decided to include those in mass shootings. The idea that gang violence only affects those in the gangs is untrue. It destroys the entire neighborhood. Despite what Killer Mike tries to say, even though I'm a fan of Run the Jewels. Gang violence makes up 75 to 85% of homicides in inner cities like Chicago. Okay, nationally, 35% of gang members are black, 46% Latino. Just to be clear, since the beginning of 2021, there have already been 527 shootings in Chicago. 527 shootings in Chicago. That means that about 420 of those shootings were due to gangs, 4 times as many mass shootings that have happened since 1982.
I'm just happy to hear it's getting nicer.
Yeah, it's getting nicer. And by the way,
That's improving.
This is the issue: is let's lock everybody down, let's shut down their businesses, let's remove their ability to feed their families, let's create a mental health epidemic like we've never seen in this country, and then what we do is remove guns from people who need to protect themselves from all the other crazy people who've gone stir crazy, who have cabin fever. This is a powder keg, and you guys just want to remove firearms from people who can't afford security details.
Yeah, and it's worse than that. You're vilifying or making the villain out of every single white person in the country right now, either because you're a Second Amendment advocate, right? You own a firearm and you think people should be able to own firearms, or you're a racist just because you're white, right? You have inherent racism in you. And so you're making these people out to be the bad guys. And I think, Dave, the point that we're making here is that, yes, there are white people that end up doing very bad things, and we have to get a handle on why people do what they do so that we can stop it in the future, right? But if you only focus on this one part of the problem that isn't making up the vast majority of the problem statistically, you're missing out on the Chicago. You're missing out on gang violence.
Here's the thing. Let's even remove race from it, right? And again, I hate that we have to do this. That's because that's immediately the narrative that the media runs with. Do you know what is the single most consistent, congruent statistic with these mass shooters? What do you think they all have in common?
Bullets.
That as well. Jeez. Some.
Look, I'm just here for comedy. I'm trying to ask honest questions
I know,
and
that's
also
fine.
make jokes.
But do you know what it is? Most of them don't have a dad.
Oh.
Before 2020, I think it was something like 38 of the 39. We had those statistics. It's 90-something% of them don't have a father or come from a broken household. Go watch. My wife and I were watching. What is it? I Am a Murderer, or is it the Confessions of a Murderer? Where it's each episode is a murderer confessing. Every single one would come. The first person would be like, well, I was jumping around foster families, and then I finally found my dad adopted me, but he raped me till I was 12, and so after that I had like 4 relatively good years. And they're talking about this, and then there's another guy saying, my dad walked out on me, and I had to sell drugs to make a living. And then for some reason the left thinks that adding, I don't know, 2, 3, let's add $4,000 per pupil spending in public schools will fix that problem, while simultaneously actively destroying the fiber of this country, the nuclear family, a mother, a father, and children, and incentivizing a mother and a father to stay together. They've actually incentivized people to not get married and get divorced. And it is overwhelming. If you're going to look for a correlation, it's not, race doesn't come out as strongly, right? Socioeconomic status doesn't correlate as strongly. Not having a father is the single greatest statistic that we have. It's also the single greatest indicator as to whether you finish school, whether you have behavioral problems, whether you go to college, whether you run a business, whether you get married, whether you're in an abusive relationship yourself. But we entirely ignore it. Let's go really quickly to this on this guy talking who Mr. Potato Head.
Officer Eric Talley was doing as he lost his life in the line of duty. He was heroically trying to save others. The state of Colorado has 35 people from the Colorado Bureau of Investigations and state troopers assisting the investigation since yesterday. We've offered to help with victim services as well.
All right. Well, guys, hey, let's have the control room keep an eye on it and let me know if anything new happens. Because, again, we're broadcasting this live as information is coming out, so I do want to provide you with what we do have.
But doesn't this become about race? Where when you look at it immediately, if there is a shooter of color, all of a sudden it does break down to, okay, this is the reason why. These are the reasons why. Yeah. This is why it's almost acceptable or forgiven or whatever it might be. And then if the shooter's white, which I don't know, that guy could be Arab, and his leg was red. I don't know if he was shot.
Idea. Could have been a little bit Nathan Phillips.
Yeah, but all of a sudden it just breaks down to, well, it's obviously homegrown terrorism, some level of
racism.
Well, that's the problem, is that we look through everything with this prism of race.
Yeah. No, we only do it one way.
Should be mass shooting.
Did he specifically only shoot black people? Do we know that?
No.
Okay, we don't know that.
Police officer,
and they also didn't specifically only shoot Asian people.
No,
so we know that.
No, yeah.
So I just want to be clear when people say, race. Here's the thing. I think you're right. Look, I think with gang violence, often the motive is pretty clear. Now, when we say terrorism, for example, if it's a brown person, it's because they have a mission statement that says, I'm doing this to bring glory to Allah. That is terrorism.
It's usually a manifesto.
Right. Yeah. When you read a written statement from a white guy who says peanut butter on bread and my phone is talking to me, like, well, maybe this guy isn't an international terrorist. Maybe he's just a dummy. It does motive in that case is what determines whether it's homegrown terrorism or not. And right now, of course, they want to set the narrative that homegrown white terrorism is a greater threat than people who are burning down cities right now in the name of what is effectively a terrorist organization. If you look at the Black Lives Matter charter, it is to destroy all systems in place that exist right now in American institutions. That's in their charter. It is the destruction of the nuclear family. That's in the charter of Black Lives Matter. If you had that from a white person, right, they'd read that and be like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. Look, can we believe? Look at this homegrown terrorist, the destruction of the nuclear family. Well, this guy must hate anyone who's not white. But for some reason, we give it a pass with Black Lives Matter. We give it a pass with Antifa. We don't know what's going on with this guy. If this guy said, hey, I want to go out and kill as many black people as possible because I'm a racist, and he just, held the map upside down so it didn't result in any kind of success for him because he didn't shoot only black people, I'll be the first person to say, hey, this guy's a racist terrorist. But we don't know that yet, and statistically, we know that it's not the same kind of problem. And it certainly is not the kind of problem that affects black Americans throughout this country in inner cities. Black children right now are far more likely, and black adults, to be shot by other black Americans, not mass shooters who are white.
Yeah.
Well, I think we also have to look at the shutdown, too, where there's two different levels of that, where in a lot of black communities, everything's been taken from you. Now you're turning to drugs. Not that they weren't there before, but I think you're going to get more than before.
Right.
Now you also have this white area where a lot of people think they have to strive to be so successful. Everything's taken away from them. They feel useless, which then can either make you suicidal or a killer. So I think a lot of this stuff does breed from over the last year. Not that shootings are a new thing.
No.
But I do think that a lot of what's happened in the last year has caused people to lose their mind and go in a direction that is sometimes more commonplace per group.
Well, that's the thing. The left only cares about mental health when they can use
Yeah.
it for a background check, because if you've ever taken a Xanax, you can't purchase a firearm. You've
Yeah.
now lost your right to self-preservation. That's what the left does. Right now, we know statistically we have the biggest mental health epidemic that has ever happened in this country because we've locked people down and removed their... And by the way, for a lot of you, that's your own fault. If you have stayed home and not actually hugged your family members, shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Shame on you if you've quarantined your children and sequestered them away from you. That's you living in fear and deciding that you're going to let your children pay the bill, okay? This all has to stop now. We know where it leads. You're a mother. You're a father, you're a son, you're a daughter, you're a member of the community. Stop locking yourself in your house and only going out double masking so that you can go to super, whatever it is, in which case we know that this doesn't end well. What were you about to say?
I was going to say Dave just did more analysis than CNN ever does with a shooting like this, because Dave is trying to get to the root of the problem so that Dave can help solve the problem. CNN is trying to make sure that people push a narrative so that guns get taken away from the scary white man.
Yes. Well, listen, you're tall and you played at Notre Dame, so people are right to be fearful.
And I'm short.
Well, you know, shorter ones are crazier.
I posed for Notre Dame.
You're just like a little bull terrier. That's what happens. The shorter ones have to do crazier stuff. To like, that's always, it's like ironic name. Like, yeah, that's Big Davy. Yeah, but he's small. But he does big things.
That's what they always say about me.
More so than Johnny Knife. Johnny Knife is terrified of Big Davy.
Johnny Knife will cut anybody but Big Dave. He's huge.
Because he knows that Big Davy's going to come back hard. Let's see what this guy is saying right now. The guy who tries to fake talk like Obama on CNN. This guy who sits there and he talks like this. Watch. He's faking it.
Pick up groceries, to buy eggs, some of them to get a COVID vaccine. And in a mere instant, our community was upturned by a senseless act of violence. This year, as Coloradans, we've faced a lot of challenges.
Self-imposed.
And in this year of
you
separation,
imposed.
due to COVID, of loss and of loneliness,
I saw him do the Carlton at a party once.
Yes.
Have been one of our
and he always
consistent
complained that, Dad, you keep on treating me like I'm a little kid.
Routine activities that we've continued to engage in as Coloradans and as Americans. It's hard to describe what it means for this safe place to see a horrible tragedy like this unfold.
Now, once upon a time in the United States of America, he would just talk about the tragedy and what we can do to help those members. Let's see how long. Can we put on a timer to see how long it takes before he gets to the gun control narrative? I didn't plan on doing this today with this show, and I'm sure the previous guy did. I'm willing to bet it's coming here in the next 2 minutes. And how long has he been speaking? So, everyone, you can watch along with me. Place your bets. All right, let's see.
In our movie theaters and in our communities, we need to see a change because we have lost far too many lives.
You mean you need to let people leave their houses? Is that
As I
where it's
said,
going?
I've lived in Boulder County for many years, and one thing I am sure of is this: our community is strong, it is kind, it is compassionate, and it is resilient. And we will get through this together as we comfort each other and as we begin the process of healing in the coming days and weeks and tough months ahead. I'd now like to turn it over to the mayor of Boulder, Sam Weaver.
Good. Yeah, that's pretty good. He just
I love
mentioned
that.
change.
Yeah. Applause.
Good for him. I'm actually glad to hear that. And who is this right now? This is the mayor? All right.
Mayor, yeah.
Is that the guy who, no, you want to see homo naked? What? Homo where you make it. You want to see homos
where you
naked?
make it.
Okay, whatever.
What was the girl that was killed in Boulder? The little pageant girl.
Oh, that was, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about.
On her name. I don't know why ever I lived in Boulder briefly, but whenever they were like, yeah, she lived too.
John Benet Ramsey?
John Benet Ramsey?
I think that might be
The
it.
pineapple.
Yes.
Pineapple in her stomach. What was that?
I shouldn't have brought
You
that
ever
up.
watched that?
I've
Come on.
completely
I have no idea what you're talking about.
show.
So let's go to another argument here with his, which is what you will hear, because they try to point to the AR-15. That the Second Amendment was only intended for muskets and well-regulated militias. By the way, we've talked about this at great length. The security of a free people. There's a comma.
Yeah.
Militia being necessary to the
It's a comma
secure
there.
state was a secure state of free people. A militia being necessary.
Yeah.
For free people, comma, the right to bear and keep arms shall not be infringed. There's a comma. And then George Mason was asked, Who is a militia? Why, it is the entire people, of course. This is something that was clarified not only when you read it quite literally in the Constitution, but the corroborating founding documents. This needs to be understood. So they have tried to say that it was only for militias, it was only for muskets. This is another one, too.
Yeah.
What's the militia? It's the whole people. You can find quote after quote after quote from the founding fathers. It was only for muskets, right? We hear that a lot. Well, okay, look. That would make sense if the only weapon around at that time were a musket.
Yeah.
Or particularly if the other firearms that existed that were maybe higher capacity, more rapid firing, the founding fathers didn't know about.
And they had zero forethought.
Right. Not only did they know about it, they actually expressly permitted and encouraged people to use them. So what did we have? We had the pepper box revolver with the Girandoni air rifle, right? And then there's a letter from James Madison in 1787. He wrote a letter of marque and reprisal to a private ship saying, hey, look, I know we have the Second Amendment, but we have these pirates. I don't want to get in trouble. Are we allowed to have cannons? And Jefferson said, why do you feel you need to ask? I am not your king. Of course you can have cannons. Have someone send me a sketch. This is what happened.
I would like to see that.
A cannon is at least a bazooka.
Yeah.
So when you have the founding fathers saying, well, yeah, of course, the Second Amendment, it's so that you can defend yourself. You have pirates, they have cannons, you have cannons. You were actually meant to have firearms. You're actually meant to have armaments as effective as what the military had at that time.
Yeah.
But they weren't anti-ideas and they weren't anti-new technology, so why is it even a conversation? Well, it's just a stupid point.
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, it's just as blunt as I can put it.
It's like them saying the First Amendment only applies to the printing press.
Yeah, when you look at these shooters that are all isolated, it's always been a common thread, regardless if they were forced to this year or not. Isolation, loneliness, sadness, depression tends to trigger people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and when we talk about this, we're not talking about, fully automatic, military weapons that they're talking about, like, oh, the AR-15. I don't know why the AR-15 is so scary to people. It's probably because they've never fired the gun before.
Unless you're a New York Times reporter, in which case you fire it and you soil yourself and say you have PTSD.
Yeah, you have PTSD, right? But the whole goal
That's an actual story.
No, yeah,
that's real. Remember?
Yeah.
I forgot.
It was like the compression that took place. Really? My mother-in-law, who looks like Sally Field, mind you, in the osteoporosis commercials, right? Current Sally Field. I love her, adorable, but she's a very slight lady.
Yeah.
She hit a bullseye at 100 yards with an AR-15 on the first try. You know why? Because an AR-15 is not that heavy, there's not that much recoil, and it's very easy for women to understand and operate. What are you saying, that women don't know firearms? Most of them, yes. So what I'm saying is you need something simple. That's why I have a 9mm handguns and a 9mm carbine rifle. Why?
Yeah.
Because my wife will be like, what goes where? And she's just dropping bullets into the gun. I don't know. So she can grab a bucket of ammo and put them in any firearm in the house. In our lake cottage, because we have bears, it's .357. It's a carbine rifle and revolver, so that it goes into every firearm. Because I don't. When I talk about this here, and I want to encourage everybody out there to purchase a firearm legally, right?
Yeah.
Of course, get proficient in using that firearm so that you will know and be able to educate other people on these myths. You need to know how to use a firearm. You need to exercise your right or you are going to lose it. And I would rather have 50 people out there. I'd rather have 5,000 people with one firearm than one person with 50. We need to get this beyond the realm of hobbyists who collect guns and everybody seeing a firearm as a tool in their household, just like a hammer or a reciprocating saw.
Yeah, well, and by the way, this ship has sailed so long ago, right?
Cannons.
So with the no pun intended, right? So with the Second Amendment, right? You've got people out there.
I'm pretty sure that was intended, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't a pun.
Well, you've got people out there that are following the law. Okay, so if you took guns away from all law-abiding citizens today, how long would it be until you got all of them away from criminals? And could you ever fully guarantee that criminals would never have weapons? No, the answer is absolutely not. And if you could, that would be a country that I wouldn't want to live in. That would be a country that takes away every freedom you have just to make sure you can't have a firearm and can't protect yourself.
Right. And there are far more defensive uses of firearms each time in the season.
Yeah.
It's close to, the numbers are hard to know because a lot of the time people don't use the firearms. They simply brandish the weapon, and it stops the situation from escalating. When it's a home invasion, of course, you shouldn't be running around like Yosemite Sam. Defend my gun rights! Ka-choo, choo, choo, choo. That skunk loves raping that cat. He's a character. So, but I do encourage you to go purchase firearms and you have a firearm, but you said you have a 22.
I do.
That's a bad idea.
Well, let's not tell the world what I have.
I'm sorry.
I have. I have stuff.
Well, the reason we were talking about this because look, and I say this because I'm not a collector. Every firearm I have has a purpose, right? And we all have several firearms. But you're actually newer to this, but that's a good thing because I want you to learn how to be safe and why what kind of firearm is important.
I never shot a gun until I was in my 30s.
Right. I never shot a gun until I was in my 20s because I was Canadian, and the only person who we ever knew who had a handgun was my ex-girlfriend's dad, who had the magical closet of mystery where it was illegal. It was like an old replica.
Don't go in there.
I'm pretty sure that bullet would have hit you sideways.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who have that. If you want just militias to have guns, good luck.
Right. Yeah. But at 22, this is something a lot of people don't understand. This is how tainted your view is from films like Shoot to Kill. We saw Batman, the original Batman.
But I hold the gun sideways.
Right. Yeah. That's a kill shot to make sure that it can't recoil properly to chamber the next round. And it's like, oh no, I'm getting raped. But I looked cool before it. So this is what's important for a lot of people who don't realize. You think I'll go out and I'll get a 22. There is no shoot to kill, there's shoot to stop. Okay? Shoot to stop. If someone is attacking you, right, if you have a home invasion, you are looking for a firearm that you can fire most effectively that will stop the assailant before they continue to do damage. It doesn't matter sure, more people are killed by 22s than any other caliber, but that's because people may die an hour and a half later, maybe the next day, right in the ICU from internal bleeding. But the fact is, you're kind of just poking holes with a 22, and your only chance is if you basically do kill the guy because there isn't enough central nervous system shock. So buy a larger caliber. Again, the idea is to stop where you get a hollow point bullet. This is something they talk about in film. I was watching, was it Designated Survivor? Because thanks for the recommendation, Dad. And right away there's a scene where some guy gets sniped, and they go, I don't understand. How did he make that shot from 600 yards away? And that comes in. Detective, we recovered the firearm. What? It was an AR-15, sir. My God. It's not possible.
How do they get
They just assume that you're an idiot. The goal is to have a caliber that hits someone and causes enough central nervous system shock, regardless of whether it hits the heart, right? Maybe it hits the spleen, that they stop. Your goal is not to kill. Your goal is to stop. And that's why people talk about getting a caliber that you can fire effectively. So let's get into HR 127, because all of these things that people don't know, they want you to believe that there's no background check for firearms. There are background checks for firearms. They want you to believe that certain calibers are only designed to kill more effectively. There are more people killed with 22s than any other caliber. It doesn't mean that it's more effective to stop a home invasion. These things are not true.
But just to be clear, you think I should file the serial number off of my gun and sell it to a teenager and then get something bigger?
Yes, and I think that you should only handle it with saran wrap around.
Perfect. Yes. I just want to make sure I heard it all right.
To be safe, you should burn your fingernail.
Listen.
Oh, I already have.
I
have sliced them off with a razor so I can do my bit.
Head of the game.
Oh, no.
You live in Detroit. You're not necessarily going to have to make a trip to Plymouth.
No.
You can just...
I could throw the gun out and a guy would catch it.
Pretty much.
Thanks, bro.
I'd be like, I got 5 of these, though.
And when you need a new one, you can just yell, Ollie, Ollie, oxen, oh, wow, that was okay.
Hey,
you know what? I don't know. It's like,
leave a gun, take it.
It's called free enterprise. You got competition.
There's actually a fishbowl like business cards.
Yeah. Just full of guns, yeah. I'm done with this one for now.
So this is HR 127, which is the bill, of course, that will be, this would be a national bill. What would it do? Well, they want a national database of everyone who's licensed to own a gun and buy ammunition. If you're unlicensed, firearm owners face fines ranging from $75,000 to $150,000 in lengthy jail sentences, which, by the way, they've just turned an entire class of people, law-abiding American citizens, who don't, into criminals.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have a right to privacy because we don't want Facebook tracking, what kind of soap we're looking up at Etsy afterward when we're off-site. But you don't have a problem with having to register with the federal government if you have a firearm, which, by the way, can be posted publicly. That's happened. They want there to be a map where people can know. It's not in this bill, but they proposed a map where people can know exactly where all the firearm owners in their neighborhood. It's like a neighborhood watch, only you take out all the neighborhood watch.
I love Etsy. I bought salt and pepper shakers.
Really?
For reals.
Did you push it good?
Yeah. I seriously did buy those. No. And people are like, is that salt and pepper? I'm like, yeah.
You're like, yeah.
They said that's appropriation.
Salt and pepper?
And you should be ashamed of yourself.
I should not be.
They want a mandatory psychological evaluation of the gun buyer, all family members, including ex-spouses. Well, you're going to get a rave review from your ex-wife who's fighting over custody. Yeah. An annual $800 gun insurance fee is required. And this is something else that it just shows how disingenuous the left is with this, right? What does this do? This disenfranchises the poor. They want to say that poor people can't get voter ID, which is effectively free, right? They just want to do that to disenfranchise poor people. They want to make sure that black people and Latinos don't voter ID, which is kind of racist, by the way, because it's not assuming they're poor, it's assuming they're stupid. I don't believe that to be the case. But what do you think happens if you have to register, you face this fine, or you have to pay a minimum of $800 of firearm insurance per year, which is more expensive than the firearm in most cases? Look, poor people in Detroit, poor people in take your city, right? White people in trailer parks, people in Koreatown, people right now who are being victimized, right? Asian Americans from hate crimes. They can't afford the luxury of a full-on security detail. AOC and Nancy Pelosi, the best shot they have is being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. That's why it's a great equalizer. It's the right to self-preservation. This bill, gun control, just makes poor people, the people in neighborhoods who are more likely to be the victim of gun violence to begin with, less safe. Let's be really clear about that. You don't care about disenfranchising poor people. How much does it cost to get some kind of a government? I know a driver's license is like $15, something like that. I don't know what it costs. You can get some other form of government ID that I think doesn't cost you anything. I don't know. I know it's less than a recurring $800 fee if you want to make sure that you don't come home and your wife's no longer there and it ends up like ransom.
As a law-abiding citizen, is there any other product that I have to be treated like this with? Like any other product that I'm guaranteed the right to be able to purchase in our rights?
The closest thing I can think of is if you're 12 years old, guaranteed free condoms from the punch bowl at the student activities coordinator.
Jeez.
Flavored. For her pleasure, but really it's still your pleasure.
Well, yeah.
Hope you make responsible decisions, 12-year-olds. We can't give you an Advil, but here's a French tickler.
Here's a dental dam.
Yes.
I hope you like cherry.
It doesn't really taste like cherry. It's more that medicinal flavor. But you know what? You'll be glad you had it.
As long as it's not the cherry poppin' daddies. Am I right? What a terrible band.
That's a ska band.
Yeah, they're terrible. I mean, they're great. No offense. I don't want anybody. I can't imagine
too late.
The mountain of hate mail I'm about to get. For insulting
What
the
are your
cherry
thoughts on Real
poppin'
Big
daddies.
Fish?
Yeah.
I think we know my thoughts on Real Big Fish. As far as ska bands go at the time, they weren't the worst. Mm-hmm. But,
they could have been.
You heard it. Dave Landau hates Real Big Fish. Tweet him.
Look, I liked Bloodhound Gang a little bit. It was the early 90s. I even tolerated Sugar Ray for a summer.
Really?
Well, I didn't like it. I'm not a fan of...
You tolerated it.
I tolerate
He does one heck of a job on Access Hollywood, though. He really transitioned. Here's something else that's in the bill right here. I don't know if we have this language.
Multi-talented.
There's an additional license to own and possess. This is the bill. A military-style weapon.
What does that mean?
That's all it says.
What does that mean? Does that mean one of the most popular handguns being sold in America today, the SIG P320, because it just won, I believe it was the Army trials, or I don't know if it was the Marine trials. They all have some variant of that. That's a military-style weapon.
What about a K-bar, a knife?
Yeah,
I thought they were talking about AR-15 since it's similar to the M16. It's not the same gun.
Style.
Interesting that you bring that up. You know what else is not a military-style weapon? An AR-15.
Oh.
It is not used anywhere in the military.
Nope.
That is an M16. People go, isn't it? No, just because it looks the same doesn't mean it's the same at all. An M16 is a rifle with burst fire. 3 shots are fully automatic. Whereas an AR-15 is a civilian version with semi-automatic fire. And that sounds really scary to people. Semi-automatic?
Yeah.
If you have any gun that isn't a bolt action or pump shotgun, 1 trigger pull, 1 round. The difference between your AR-15 and the military-style M16 is as significant. Think of this. If you had to cock your handgun every single time. Cock it every single time. Okay, now you go to semi-automatic. That's an AR-15. The difference is about the same between the AR-15 and the military-style variant, where it has full automatic or burst fire. It is not used in the military, and this is a problem, right? When you have bills, Green New Deal notwithstanding, that was 4 pages and a pop-up.
But if you have to get rid of it's military-grade weapons?
They say military-style weapons with no definition.
Military-style weapons? Then what am I supposed to do with my hands?
Well, you know what? I would just say don't register them and just incur the $150,000.
But they're already registered, Stephen, as a lethal weapon.
They're going to get you.
If you transition to David Levine, Uncle Sam's none the wiser.
All right, I'm going to keep these bad boys.
But then you have to register your vagina. So
it's registered.
When we're talking about bills, again, AOC's Green New Deal, 5 pages.
It's
notwithstanding,
also lethal.
They're thousands of pages. They're thousands of pages, right?
Yeah.
They're thousands. How do you have it as vague as weapons that look like they could be used in an action movie? How does that happen?
Yeah. Because they want to be able to define it. Whatever looks scary, whatever they happen to think they want off the streets to make themselves look good. Like they're doing something to solve this problem. It all goes back to them trying to do something for votes and not actually trying to solve the problem that we have.
Right. Hey, didn't we have a Photoshop in here? I don't remember. Someone deleted it from the show map, but I have no idea.
Was there?
Oh, it might be later on. Never mind. I think it's later on.
Yeah. Hey, but we do have a news update. We know the name of the person, 21-year-old Ahmed Alyssa.
Oh, God.
So doesn't
is he a transgender terrorist?
Maybe.
I was Ahmed, but I'm in transition. Haven't done bottom, but I've done top. I have a nice set. Also, estrogen doesn't really agree with me, so I feel angry. La, 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 la.
I'm Gorilla Med.
Is this a white guy still though?
Oh no! Wait, officers! You must be looking for my brother. I'm Alyssa. Middle name Stacy.
He said, and he looked Arabic. I said that, and my nana was Arabic. So don't get all uppity.
Well, no,
with
we're not
me.
saying Arabs all Arabs are bad. We're saying is this? They just said he was a white guy.
The media says for us what we said. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Gerald.
Cut him off.
Yes, you did.
I did
cut him
not.
off. He needs to be taken down.
I know. I was just saying that that other people speak for us, and I'm not saying it's all.
But by the way,
looked Arabic.
That'll be included among white shooters.
Yeah.
Even if he is fresh, I can say fresh off the boat because it was a sitcom. Even if he is fresh off the boat from Iran,
fresh
right,
off
from
the
Saudi
magic
Arabia,
carpet.
or from North Africa, Egypt, he will still be labeled white, according to these statistics. Just to be clear, that's how you need to educate yourself so you can know when they're lying to you. And again, we don't know.
We found an Instagram that might be this guy. It's the same spelling of his name, Ahmed Alyssa. Oh. And this guy's from Colorado, and he's young. So this is one of
that
his
guy had a
posts.
bald spot. So
was it the Allman Brothers that sang "Sweet Alyssa"?
Yeah. Well, I can't see this, so you can.
It says, "Oh, people, listen to me in earnest. Worship Allah. Say your 5 daily prayers. Salah. Fast during the month of Ramadan, and give your wealth in zakat. Perform Hajj if you can afford to." The last sermon of the Prophet Muhammad. So we don't know if this is the guy.
That might not be him.
He's from Colorado. The guy is 21. I don't know that what they showed on the news of the balding guy, if that's a 21-year-old. But
who knows?
What we know right now about the suspect is this is his name. And he's 21.
I love how no known motive right now is what they're saying on CNN, whereas with massage parlors it was right away anti-Asian hate crime.
Yep.
And Joe Biden, Kamala Harris said, "Hey, I'm getting on a plane to go meet with the Asian community of Atlanta." How do you do that?
Right, and it's not even just as bad as jumping the gun when we know for a fact that there is no evidence that it was a hate crime. It wasn't targeting Asian people. They still run the stories that it is every single day.
Should always just wait for the facts.
Doesn't matter. This is what happens when you have a media with no accountability, and then when you have big tech trying to look. Big media lost. Legacy media lost. They lost to us. They lost to Blaze. They lost to Deadly Wire. We beat them on election. When the playing field is fair, their content cannot compete. And so legacy media, in order to avoid any kind of accountability, has tried to get their claws into big tech so that it force feeds you CNN. And yes, Fox News is not exempt either, so that they never get called on their mistakes. Look, this is happening in real time. They said that day, when you were hosting the show, that was happening in real time. Your joke about the Gremlin shopkeeper beard had me in tears in my hotel, and my heart was hurting at Mayo Clinic. So you're going to have to pay for some new stitches. But that happened in real time, and they said hate crime against Asians. And I even admit, when I was watching, I was like, well, you know what? It looks that way at this point.
It did.
Because I didn't read. It takes a while to read. Oh, wait, 30% were not even Asian. Oh, wait, this guy didn't have any history. Oh, wait, these were at massage parlors where there was sex trafficking, which, by the way, has been just swept
Sex
under the rug.
addiction.
And now in real time, we have no idea as to the motive of the shooter.
Yeah.
You can start with Ahmed and take a guess. If you're going to take a guess, just because people who happen to be Asian, 70% of them at massage parlors, and you say this is a hate crime, take a guess here, right? If you're going to do it, the point is you shouldn't guess, but you already did.
Yeah, doesn't fit the narrative.
This guy we just showed too. We're fairly sure that this is the guy. I'm sorry, this is actually Facebook, not Instagram, but we're fairly sure it is the guy.
Get your shit together,
this other tweet from Aaron Katersky, the suspect in Boulder, Colorado. Ahmed Alyssa, 21 of Arvada, and this guy, it says he's from Arvada.
All right, well, let's have them comb through more stuff. I'm sure we'll find uplifting little memes.
Nothing to see here, though.
How ironic would it be if he was also an Instagram ass model? Look, I also buy My Fit tea. Allahu Akbar.
Oh, jeez.
When I bow to face Mecca 5 times a day, I'm glad that I do it in Gymshark.
I have neighbors that do that, and my dogs bark.
You can hear the call to prayer in Hamtramck.
Yeah. Oh, well, Hamtramck's also got a lot of Polish, though. And boy, the pierogies you can get there.
Yeah.
And duck blood soup, you know who's had that? Anthony Bourdain and me.
Is it any good?
It's actually really good. I like
Duck
it.
sounds disgusting.
I know, it sounds
What's the matter
terrible.
with you, Dave?
I never ate it until Anthony Bourdain did. And other than, how it ended, I liked him. Where I wanted to be like him.
Well, don't be like him.
Well, we'll see.
Let's not follow the same path.
Jury's still out.
And if you do, throw yourself over a rail in the Ozarks.
We've talked about this.
Yes.
We have a pact.
Oh.
Yes, we do. It's called Slender
Just the day that
Man.
Media Matters is banging down the door, it's like, you know what to do? And we do our swan dive.
Yep, that's right.
And which is not going to be very pleasant because our office here is only 2 stories, but really, we're going to hit ourselves first.
We're both going to be dressed as feathers.
Yeah. This is like a bad Thelma and Louise.
It's me and Dave Landau, and as we jump with the
Hold hands.
sisters. Sisters. They were such suicidal sisters.
All right. No.
I'll be dressed like a penguin, and they'll be like, see, they can't fly.
Stephen will go as a ground owl.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be so funny.
I want to jump from a building, and instead of that makeshift sort of trampoline, I want them to just have a giant box of ground owls.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
You take them both out.
Just put some nice grass and
It's a
dirt in
twofer.
there so they can burrow, and they're not
None the
wise
wiser.
to what's
They think
going
they're
on.
safe.
I want to be saved by 8 pigeons. And they just grab my coat and pull me back.
And one of them says, "Happy birthday!"
Yeah. You deserve
They're
to
like,
live.
you won't die from that fall. We're pulling you higher to drop you.
Although if it's like Tom and Jerry that I brought my son to see, the pigeons will be rappers.
Ah.
Well, listen, Detroit, it could happen. Stranger things have happened, like Detroit still being a city. So let's move on. While we're talking about people being allowed to do stuff, I don't know how Detroit is allowed to still be a thing.
Yeah, I don't think technically the census.
Technically,
Is it still?
We have Dr. Choi too.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we have
a lot
Dr.
to
Choi.
cover.
Okay, let's see if he can hold for a few minutes. Do you think he can, or is he?
Yeah, we'll ask him.
Okay, because we're gonna have to.
He's a doctor, I'm
we
sure he's not
basically
busy.
just talked about gun
not
control.
busy
We have
at
a
all.
whole. Okay, let's rattle through this segment pretty
Golfing.
quickly.
All right.
Let's talk about this one, and then we'll get to Dr. Choi. We have a What's Up Doc with Fat Pride, which. So, Biden's military. This is something that we need to talk about right now. The military, and I will say this, look, thank you to everyone who has served. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But the military is not what we once thought. The military has now become a petri dish, a social experiment. It's not about having the most effective military in the world. It's not about having the most prepared people in the world. And of course, when you do that, when you turn it into a social justice experiment, you end up sending unqualified people, largely women, pregnant women now, to their deaths. So don't say that this doesn't come from a place of empathy. Just like you can't say when we're talking about people having the right to bear arms, no, it does come from a place of empathy because I don't want women to get raped. I want to read more headlines that read, woman fights off rapist and attacker with firearm than raped and left in a ditch. Same thing here. I don't want to read more headlines that say pregnant woman who couldn't do a knee tuck or push-ups ends up dead in the battlefield. Okay? They shouldn't be on the battlefield. You can call me sexist. I don't give a rat's ass. Cancel moment. Hi, take this clip. So, last Friday at the International Summit in Alaska, Chinese diplomats mocked Biden's weak stance against China mercilessly, and of course I would never side with communist China, but they got some shots in.
I have to tell you, what I'm hearing is very different from what you described. I'm hearing deep satisfaction that the United States is back, that we're re-engaged with our allies and
You know
partners.
the Chinese diplomats right now
I'm
are
also
just going,
hearing deep
purple hair,
concern
bitch!
about some of the actions your government is taking.
It's hard to take you seriously when you're sitting next to a cabbage patch. Garbage pail, kid, mother.
Well, I think we
What
thought
silly
too
appetizers.
well of the United States. We thought that the U.S. side will follow the necessary diplomatic protocols.
所以我们刚才必须阐明我们的立场。
So for China, it was necessary that we make our position clear.
我现在讲一句，你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
Yeah. From a position of strength. That was the word. Well, we couldn't find the clip because it got cut off because it was pretty embarrassing. Just like the guy's balls. Oh! You're saying we're not strong? I'm saying pound for pound, you are a pussy boy. So, we need not worry, though, because former Vice President Joe Biden, he knows He knows that national security is not achieved through strength.
No.
It's not what the military is about.
Never.
You guys are all concerned about power and strength and efficiency. It's achieved through diversity.
They're using their voices and actively working to change policies in the military to make it easier and safer for more women, not just to join the military, but to stay in the military and to thrive. I'm incredibly proud that in 2015, under the Obama-Biden administration, we took the final steps to open up all positions in the military to anyone qualified to serve in them.
What if they're not
Women who join
qualified?
today's military aren't told no.
They should be told no. I don't know when the military. I don't know when the military became an all-inclusive. This isn't sandals. They should be told no. If they said more people who qualify, what if they don't qualify? We'll reduce the qualifications. What if they still don't qualify? Then we'll just reduce all qualifications, and the Chinese will laugh at us. Okay, while that's really what we're going to do. So let's look at a couple of things here before we get to women. Sorry, women. Are you saying that women are weaker than men physically? Yes, you're weaker than men. Period. Okay, you shouldn't be in the military if you're pregnant. I don't understand why we're talking about this, but one of the executive orders that was issued by Joe Biden, former Vice President Joe Biden, free transgender surgery in the military, reversing an Obama-era policy. That's nice. That's nice. That's a priority right now. Imagine that in Pearl Harbor when that's the thing, people were holed up there in their hospital beds. How many people would have been able to run out to their fighter jet? Well, back then they weren't jets. Been able to run out to their, what did they use? Not biplanes. It was between biplanes and fighter jets, but they couldn't lest they hurt the sutures in their groin. All right, hold on. I got to waddle out there. Hold on. I'm bleeding from my crotch. I got to use my medical device, like a barbershop quartet, to reopen it as a wound.
Oh, stop it.
Well, the beginning of Saving Private Ryan actually is because of vagina suitors.
Yes.
Sutures. Sorry, I found the joke.
So this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing right now.
Come on, everybody.
They want everybody, which explains, by the way, Hollywood, yet another remake, taking their chances with redo of Missing in Action. And that seems, you know what? I don't know how else you expect
That's missing.
That's
to go. And this is one thing. Me saying this, and by the way, the best thing you can do right now while you're watching this show is just comment. Just leave a comment what you think about women in the military and what you think not only about women in the military, because everyone agreed, well, women in the military, officers, women in the military, anything that involves intellectual capacity, because women are just as organizational capacity, sure. And you know what? Even pilots, provided they aren't with child. But I'm about to say a phrase that you, on its face, would think is a sketch, would think it's a bit. It's not. Biden, let me just read this verbatim from this article.
A little slow.
Biden also announced the priority of special maternity fighter pilot suits for pregnant women.
Where we're making good progress designing body armor that fits women properly, tailoring combat uniforms for women, creating maternity flight suits, and updating requirements for their hairstyles.
Toss some spandex on their fatigues and call it a day. This is remarkable to me. Hey, look, when we're a society where the military is no longer about protecting women and children, and do we really need
How
another?
many G's can that baby take?
Do we really need another no-bid military contract for maternity suits? Like, just have a bidding war between Talbots and whoever. I don't know whatever else is Talbots. But the point is, you know what women shouldn't be able to do when they're pregnant? Fly, okay? It's not Peter Pan. You think of happy thoughts, you can still die. Just to be clear, it's safest for pregnant women to fly only between 3 and 6 months. I know because I have a wife pregnant with twins, and they said don't fly. Not the first trimester, not the last trimester. And unless you're with twins, guess what? You probably don't need another suit. You just need to leave a little bit of room for the belly. Also, that baby is going to be mashed potatoes at that point. It is disgusting. We shouldn't be sending, you know what, women handle G-force better. Really? What about the 6-month-old? Do you have any idea? That's the scariest ride in the world while that woman's out there reenacting Torah. I can't believe that we are now saying the military is not about being as effective as possible, because at one point our goal was to protect women and children. Why? Because we love them. Why? Because they make babies. Why? Because men are fine being leather-necked, rough. They'd be doing this out there deer hunting on that weekend anyway. They don't give a rat's ass. Switch the deer out with a terrorist and switch that hunting rifle with an M16, not AR-15, unless you're an idiot, right? That's what I want. Those are the people that I want in the military. Also, the people in the military who I want, people who are able to do basic push-ups. Not knee push-ups, non-bitch push-ups. How about that before we start talking about, Joe Biden just likes to spend money. Oh, yeah, maternity flight suits. Are you out of your mind? You know what happened to Goose? What do you think is going to happen to Mother Goose?
Well, I think we are denying the super soldier depending on her mood.
Yes.
I mean, we could really take out the trash.
They don't need to give him methamphetamine like the Japanese kamikaze
No, they don't.
pilots.
Like, she killed everybody, even in her own platoon.
They get that extra mother adrenaline. And
How did
like
she
the
do
original
that?
Bane.
Well, I called her through her headset and I said, remember those Cadbury eggs that I was saving for you? I got hungry at night and ate them.
She said her ankles hurt, and I suggested larger boots because they might be swelling.
Yeah.
She murdered 9 Asian men.
And she's headed for the White House, so you guys might
Gotta
want to
watch
get
out.
him in those canals.
Oh my gosh.
You know what
into a
else pregnant
flying
women can't
squirrel.
do? First off, the first thing to tell you is right. Don't now they even say, well, you can have a glass of wine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
You can have a cup of coffee, but avoid stress.
Right.
Do you think a dog fight in the sky might qualify? Especially because you know what else women can't do? Pregnant women, they can't ride roller coasters. They can't get in hot tubs. But we're going to put them in a fighter jet? I'm sorry. It's not sexist to not want pregnant women to die in the military. Here's something else, too. 65% of women have been failing the new equal gender-neutral fitness test versus just 10% of men. This is important to note. This is a new gender-neutral fitness test. What does that mean? We've made it easier because women weren't passing the other tests. So now it's you don't have to do other things that were hard, like pull-ups and stuff like that. So we're going to make it really easy where you do like a knee tuck. But guess what? Women are underperforming in the knee tuck. 1.9 women for every 8.3 men pass.
Oh, man.
So the military provided another option. Do you know what it is?
What?
You know what it is? It is the shameful, redheaded stepchild of the planking, which is the stupidest thing in the world. Again, because
Pretty
you should
difficult.
do push-ups. When you're doing a push-up, guess what? You're always planking. But we're going to remove that from the equation and just sit there. So now they allow women to, because they have to get up in their maternity flight suits. So otherwise, well, how could you, you're a patriarchy. So let's make sure we lower the standards so that women with child can get up there in an F-16, I don't know what the plane is, F-16, F-15, I don't know, Apache, whatever it is, whatever the hell it is. Let's make sure they can get up there. So let's remove the knee tuck and let's just have them do an internet knee.
They can just balance on the belly.
That's not even as hard as the ice bucket challenge. So now women can go out into the front of combat with planking. And that actually reminds us, and I know we have to get going, we're running late today, so hopefully Dr. Choi is still there, and if he's not, then I understand, but we wanted to put this to the test ourselves, so it's time to bring in some interns. All right, so we have a boy intern and a lady intern. Hey, how you doing, Choi Jr.? Good? Not the victim of any hate crimes lately? All right, you just let me know if that happens around this office, because there are things that I tolerate. One thing I don't tolerate in this office, racially motivated hate crimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Not the ones I see.
He'll give you what you need for an extra 50.
Whoa.
All right, so we are just going, so for the rest of the show, guys, get into the plank, and we're going to see who wins the boy. Oh, those are maternity pants? We have maternity flight suit pants. All right, both of you plank. I have to finish the show.
Oh, Joe Lewis is
Stay
getting in
there for the whole show. I can't see them, so you guys let me know if one of them fails.
Okay.
Hey, no, you can't don't get rid of Joe Lewis. What, that could be a terrorist out there with your platoon.
This is part of the deal.
Deal
Get
with
down
it.
there, Austin. Get on the ground.
Crying out loud. We want you protecting our country, and you can't deal with a few licks. Hey, Troy
Take
Jr.,
it.
don't be a bitch.
Thank you, sir, man.
He's
Have
just
another.
telling you he loves you. All right.
This is part of it.
This is part.
When he mounts, you freeze.
Yes. Just it's best to let him finish. Here's another thing: is now the woke be at the Navy.
I really hope he helps
they're forcing all sailors to re-swear their oaths to the Constitution in order to try and weed out extremism. Here you go.
Extremist beliefs, behaviors, and conduct are not consistent with our core values. They have no place within our Navy or our Navy culture. Extremist organizations are those that promote supremacist causes and discriminate against others based solely on race, creed, color, sex, religion, sexual preference, or national origin, or those that advocate the use of violence against our government and elected leaders. Beyond our core values, this kind of behavior is in direct conflict with the oath that we all swore when we entered the service. Participation in extremism can include demonstrating, rallying, fundraising, recruiting, or conducting training for or with an organization with those beliefs. Just by posting, retweeting, or liking an offensive
All right, that's
post
enough. I don't give a rat's
on
ass what this
social
guy has to
media-
say.
I gotta
It's
say,
a
I'm
far
impressed.
cry from MacArthur with a deep corn cob.
Yeah. I'm impressed with the planking.
I'm
By
impressed
now,
with the
I
planking.
would have
So far, so
already.
good.
Listen.
Cheater.
I would have already.
women cheaters.
1 minute, 18
had a
seconds.
Sandwich.
1 minute, 18 seconds.
This is your Z in arms.
Shut
That's
up,
cheating.
maggot.
By the way, she was.
That's what they say in the military.
Hold on, Troy Jr., get over here, because I'm as your employer.
Or
Get over
make sure
here
M.
and choke yourself.
Yes, you said maggot. We heard you.
Choke yourself.
Were you about to
go
call
ahead. You
me
can get
an-
out. Thank you. So here's something else that this chief naval personnel, Vice Admiral John Knowles, he said the stand downs will focus on the damaging effects of extremism and how to eliminate it after dozens of veterans and service members were arrested in connection with the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. We will not tolerate those who participate in actions that go against the fundamental principles of the oath we share, particularly actions associated with extremist or dissident ideologies. Oh, I thought we had a sketch there. Yeah, thanks. And by the way, this is something that they also have said in the Navy. This has become a social experiment. It's not about keeping our country safe. That's the issue right now with the military. Master Sergeant Ramon Colon Lopez, hopefully I get that right. Probably didn't get it right. Okay, attribute it to racism. Let's have him pronounce Crowder.
I think just saying Master Sergeant's going to piss people off.
Yeah, maybe. Well, you know what? That's the
Implications
That's
there.
the rank. Hopefully he earned it and it wasn't a slot. So the military needs to educate soldiers on the difference between Capitol riots and Black Lives Matter. So they want to make it really clear that the 200 people out of all the folks on the Capitol, about 250 to 400,000, depending on the estimates you use, that is a threat, but not the people who've done $2 billion in damages and caused hundreds of officer casualties and dozens of deaths. So it says, what I'm committed to do is make sure that our people understand right from wrong, that our people are well educated to be able to carry on in an honorable fashion in their maternity suits. And if they hear somebody saying the wrong things, that they're quick to go ahead and correct them without being confrontational. So they want to make sure that you educate your fellow members of the military, fellow service members. If they happen to have a problem with their neighborhoods back home, they're getting a letter, and it's not just a topless pic from their wife, but it's their wife being burned down in their house, that he doesn't hold a grudge.
Oh, great.
Fair.
So they said you can, just for demonstrating, just for marching in a peaceful protest,
Just for retweeting.
for second
liking,
rights,
for liking.
any of that.
In
stuff?
other words, some guy who's in the military, who's tasked with going out there and taking out,
Yeah.
making Gaddafi's little hut look like Hellel's bachelor pad, right? We need to make sure that he hasn't liked a tweet that happens to have something that could be considered Islamophobic, like this show.
Well, and lest you think that we're being sarcastic here, the people that were marching in Michigan, the Second Amendment rally, were viewed as extremists for carrying rifles.
Even though they did
at
nothing
a rally. They did nothing wrong. They didn't do any damage.
Yeah.
They didn't hurt anybody. Extremists. So you're going to kick that guy out of the military for that?
Hey, question. I know we have to get going soon with Dr. Troy. Dr. Troy, thank you so much. I know you're a doctor. I know you're very busy. But if people always say that, well, Black Lives Matter, there were just a few people who co-opted these, and most of them, the vast majority of them were peaceful, which is not true. Well, why don't we say the same when there were only 200 or so people who were involved with the Capitol riot when there were hundreds of thousands of people there?
Have to call it an insurrection.
Well, it doesn't fit the narrative.
It doesn't really make it. It doesn't.
Gabe
Yeah,
wins.
yeah. 90%. How do you have 90% peaceful anything with $2 billion in damage?
But it just it becomes,
How does that ever happen?
It just becomes unpeaceful once it starts like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. I don't know. I'd say
What
with
else
all
were they
of
supposed
it.
to do?
All right. And by the way, China would agree with some of these things because they called the United States Chinese media hypocrites for supporting Hong Kong and then denouncing the January 6th rioters. Well, you know what?
I
That's
hate
one.
you.
I guess China.
Yeah.
I guess they kind of. I see how they could see it that way.
Sure.
Jerks.
I hate that the Chinese are pulling one over on
I
us.
know, right?
I hate that the Chinese are actually able to just embarrass our president with, I know you are, but what am I? And it works.
Yeah.
And it works. It works right now. Think about this. Xi Jinping, however you pronounce it, is more of a man than former Vice President Joe Biden in some ways.
Yeah.
Not a fan of communist China, don't get me wrong. And by the way, while the U.S. military is concerned with diversity and inclusion, Xi Jinping, again, haven't pronounced Landau, has told the military to prepare for war. So they're going, all right, prepare for war. They did a little march, a little goose step. We're like, all right, make sure you have your gravel, anti-nausea medication, some snacks. You guys have the stretchy pants? Okay, someone help her into the fighter jet. Oh my gosh, there's 19 Chinese on us and we're already dead. That's just remarkable to me. They would never consider this. And you know why? Well, first off, it's a horrible communist country, China. But we've always understood the military exists to protect our country and to protect our women and children. We don't send children out into war. We don't send pregnant women out to war. It's not because we hate women. Also, I don't know that we should be paying for transgender surgery because I think there are a lot of people right now who are going to join up in the Army National Guard. You can chop. And then they're going to be out. Do one tour and out so they can get a free snip. I have a problem with, I'm just saying, read between the lines, nuance, liberal. So the best thing you can do right now is comment. Just let us know what you think about the military situation, what you think about the any information that you see about the shooting or the shooter. Please do leave in the comment section because we'll be scanning them to try and keep people updated as this unfolds. We're going to go to Mug Club. We have Dr. Choi on a Fat Pride segment. What's up, Doc? YouTube, thank you. I would say we love you, but you know that would be a lie, and I just want to be upfront with you so you can piss